There is a lot of interesting things that are happening in the Delphi case. Anya and Kevin had a really interesting podcast last night. A bit of talk about how close Mexico, Indiana is to Peru. And some talk around maybe some links there. Richard's wife went to school in Peru. People in Mexico, it seems, would, if they were going to the town or down to the town, that's Peru. They're going into Peru because it's a bigger town. And you can kind of tell that from a map also. Mexico is just north of Peru and has a really, really small population. So I imagine a lot of people would be mingling with people in Peru. Some old friends of Richard's were talking. There wasn't much here, I felt, but I do think Murder Sheet, Anya and Kevin will do a really good job digging into this in the next couple of weeks. And it wasn't said, but obviously the whole Mexico where Richard was living and Peru where the Klines were, you can tell they're not ready to say there's no connection. Let's just say that. I speculated in my last video about, was it a phone possibly that they found in the Wabash River search, and was that what led back to Richard Allen? That was just speculation from me, and I trust Anya and Kevin's reporting and things they put out over my speculation any day of the week. But they have reported that the reason, or one of the triggers for the police turning up at Richard's house that day, is they were reviewing old tips, which is very interesting. And something that I've been rattling my brain with for the last few hours, just trying to figure out what's going on. They were very careful with their words. Here's the clip of Anya saying it.
We can confirm today exactly how, or at least more of an outline of how police came upon this man once again. Basically, Rick Allen came back on the radar after somebody connected to the Delphi investigation was going through old tips, came upon a tip, came upon some sort of file or documentation regarding Rick Allen, and basically looked at it and thought that it needed a second look.
And that second look was given, and that started the chain of events that ultimately led to the arrest of Rick Allen.
Yes.
So Richard Allen came back onto the radar when someone connected to the Delphi murders. And you have to presume here it was a detective of sorts. I don't know why they said someone connected to the Delphi murders rather than a detective or a cop. But they were going through some old tips, came across one that interested them about Richard Allen, and it seems like there was some document associated with that tip also. And that second look led to an arrest. So is it connected to Kegan or not? This makes me think maybe no. Maybe it is all just a coincidence. Maybe he is a lone wolf. Why were they going through old tips? What led them there? We know Richard came forward early in the investigation and was ruled out. Was this something Kegan knew? Something Richard boasted about, perhaps? That feels a bit weak. That could be a shot in the dark for Kegan, and I hope he's not getting a deal off that. Or is it just standard practice? It should be standard practice to just be going over, reviewing notes. Was it just something like that? And this has to be one in the basket for a no Kline connection. But I would be shocked. I would be shocked if there is no connection. Everything that has happened in the last few weeks is fascinating. I don't even know the details, but I know Doug Carter was right when he said that. But what led them? What do you think? What led them to going through old tips? And what was it about that one that made the agent say, this is the one? Was he looking for something in particular? Was this tip actually from Richard himself? And what was the file? What was the documentation? Was that some sort of receipt perhaps? And if there is no Kline connection, you have to wonder why they can't just release the probable cause, or at least some redacted version of it. Is it possible they don't want to release that because it's not that there's a connection to someone else? They want to protect the person that gave that original tip. If that gets out there, the media, social media will be all over them. But then again, why can't you just redact it? I can't make heads or tails of this, folks. And also, it seems as a result of Richard, or else maybe the lack of things found in the Wabash River search, investigators have realised that Kegan is still telling some porkies, or at least not the whole truth. So no surprise there. His court date got updated again because he is still in negotiation. And I wonder, is that a sign that they're going to go back for another chat soon? Or at least they're not finished with him. They're not finished talking to him yet. They want more. I'm not sure Kegan has got that deal or whatever deal he was trying to get done over the line just yet. But I'm just very confused as to how Richard was arrested. How it related to the Klines, if indeed it does. And I can't wait to see what's in those documents. I can't wait, but I can wait, if that makes sense. I do trust him, but I definitely also understand why the whole thing is starting to make people a bit uneasy. Nobody wants mistakes in this case, or the person that did this to get off with it because of mistakes. There's no documents released. Richard is locked up, pretending to be asleep, getting threats 24/7. He has no legal representation. He probably has today, but up to this point he didn't have any. And he went begging the court for some assistance, having initially said he was going to try and hire his own. I have videos on 2 of those things if you go back on my channel. And it probably would have been best there also if the court just gave him some legal representation last week. Just said, yeah, look, Richard, we know you want to hire your own, but take this guy until you do. Just something to cover their asses. The whole thing is starting to have a bit of an uneasy feeling for me. I do trust they got the right guy. I don't know why I trust them. Their track record on this case isn't great. But then again, they have never arrested someone. They have gotten a judge in the past to sign probable cause search warrants, but never an arrest warrant, like is the case with Richard. And I think whatever evidence they have, they're confident of a conviction in this case. They wouldn't make the arrest otherwise. I hope they can release some info soon that doesn't jeopardise the case in any way. There has been some crazy turns in the road in this case. And then, finally, we think we're on the right road, heading up the home straight, and suddenly it takes a turn to the left. But I don't care what road we're on, as long as the destination is justice for Abby and Libby. Let me know your thoughts. Like what do you make of it? What do you think about the details on that old tip? Why were they going over them? Just business as usual? Or did someone send them there? Or did some info send them back looking at them? And what was that document or the file that was associated with that old tip on Richard, or the old tip that led them back to Richard? I will leave a link here to the murder sheet below. It's an interesting episode. Go have a listen if you didn't already. Good luck. God bless. I hope everyone has a nice day.